Hello, and welcome back to the Empathy Lab. I'm Selena Isles, researcher, founder, structural surgeon, anthropologist, mom, wife, all the things. And I want to welcome you back to this week's podcast. It is Sunday, February 8th. And if you're in Montreal like me, or maybe you're not, but if you are, you know the city's gone quiet, except for maybe Igloo Fest and all the wonderful festivals that we have outside here to really pump us up on the practically 5 to 6 months of cold weather we get. But the city has gone quiet. And also, except for the snow removal and everything else going on. But when we have this much snow, as we've had here on the East Coast, we know that snow acts as a dampener, right? It's heavy, it's still, it's quiet. It's not quiet when we're outside trying to get places, but when it's falling, it's quiet. And it's though nature pulls a blanket over everything, kind of telling us to slow down, go inside, stay warm, anchor in. And today at the lab, I want to talk about a different type of quiet because there's nothing wrong with being quiet. Quiet silence is actually golden. And also, I want to talk about the architecture of silence. Now, we often think of conflict as something loud, right? Like we think it's, oh my God, what the fuck? Wah!" And that is part of conflict. That does have its place. And that's usually where we think of the tangle, right? The frantic, high pitched static of everyone pulling at threads at once. Hands are in the air. Things are going on. Voices are raised. Everything is happening all at once because we're trying to get to the knot and we're knotting ourselves up more with friction. Or we can think of the circle. The circle is like a low hypnotic drone of an argument that we've repeated for the 100th freaking time. We've just changed the words. Actors are the same. The set might have changed, but we know that we've been here before. It's kind of like the rhythm of a machine that's running on empty. It's just repetitive. Even as I'm saying it, I'm just like leading closer to the mic. Like we've all been in the circle sound. The straight line also has a sound. We talked about that last week, week before actually. And the straight line sound is like snap, crackle, pop, right? It's the snap of a rigid boundary breaking. It's the snap of you have just taken this way too far, right? We know that snap and we know what that feels like. And we know even as I'm talking about these things, you're probably feeling on a somatic level, on a body level, all of these sounds. And maybe I've launched you into an argument you had last week, or maybe one that you're gearing up to have today. Who knows? If you are, let me know. Drop me a line. Let me know how that goes. Let me know how you mapped it because you've been listening. And you know what, folks? In my years of mapping friction, I found that the most dangerous form of conflict actually, really and truly, makes absolutely no sound at all. And it's the sound of silence. It's the sound of the shutdown. It's actually the silence of the whole thing shutting down. And I'm pretty sure as I've said that, a lot of you are like, yep, I'm either that person and you don't want to say that you are. And if you are, it's fine. I'm not taking shots at anybody. I'm putting it all out there for us to dissect, look at, compost, be aware of, become more conscious of. And that's all I'm doing. So the diagnosis, folks, okay, is what we call a Tamasic Retreat. And those of you that are maybe studying yoga, in particular, maybe Ayurveda, maybe deeper forms on the 8 limbs of the branches of yoga, you've heard the word Tamasic. Now, in the Mantra, Yantra, Tantra framework, for those of you that are following my thesis and are actively gobbling that up in various different channels like Nest Labs and LinkedIn and maybe the Substack articles, because everything that I'm putting out is actually chapters of the thesis and I'm taking us through it, right? And I'm making it alive and organic for you to use right away instead of waiting for when I release it and I put it out there. You can have it right now, this second. So in the mantra, yantra, tantra framework, we look at the energy of the room, right? Again, for those of you that are really familiar with yoga, Rajas is the energy of movement. Sattva, the energy of clarity. Tamas is inertia, right? It's solid. And here, in the context and the framework of what we're talking about, energy, it's the refusal to move. It's the non-budging. It's the settling in. It's the stubborn people that we know in our lives, right? Stubbornness is tamasic. It's inertia. It's not moving. It's not going anywhere. You could try whatever you want. Absolutely nothing is happening. And it often happens, right? So the Tamasic Retreat, the silent treatment, let's call it the silent treatment. For those of you that remember the Roots or still listen to the Roots, they had a really good track called Silent Treatment. And I invite anybody to go back. I'm not even going to say the album. That's your homework. I'm going to invite everybody to go back, look up the Roots, Silent Treatment, listen to the song, and things. I'm not saying you get clarity from it, but you'll feel what we're talking about today. So, as I was saying, this essentially happens when the cost of speaking becomes too high. When you hit someone with a linguistic blocker, as we've been speaking of before, what we like to call the anti-mantra, and they don't always fight back. Let's say you're having a disagreement, you're in conflict, and you say the thing. Maybe one of the things that I'm actually going to talk about and say in a minute, right? And then the person doesn't say anything. They shut down immediately. And it feels like they vanish from the room. You feel the energy suck in and as though they are vanishing before our eyes. And maybe if you're the one handing out the anti-mantras or linguistic blockers and you do this, maybe now that you've heard me talk about it, you become way more attuned to it. And that's one of the reasons why we're out here, folks, and we're doing what we're doing. And when that individual vanishes, they're still there, but the self has left the building. The self has completely vanished, left the argument, doesn't want anything to do with it. And that's where we have the opportunity to check ourselves. Now, we don't often do that, right? And what I'm going to talk about in checking ourselves is the new weaponry, right? It's not new because it's been around for a long time. Maybe the Gen Z kids are saying it differently, right? But the new weaponry has been around for a long time. And there are 5 blockers that cause silence. And there are versions of these 5 blockers that cause silence. Last week, we talked about one of them. You're being oversensitive, right? So that was one. And I asked you to feel through your body and your mind how that felt if and when someone has ever said that to you. But there are other weapons in that arsenal that guarantee a retreat, or what we were just saying before a couple of minutes ago, a Tamasic retreat. And I want you to listen for these 5 specific phrases. I'm just a bad guy then. Or I guess I'm just a bad guy then. Notice my tone changed. Same sentence. Doesn't make it any better. This is what we call in the lab the victim reversal. It forces you to stop addressing the issue at hand and start comforting the person who's now upset. And the only safe move is silence, right? Because now yourself has left the room. You've got to now inhibit and imbibe a new self, now comfort this aggressor, or not aggressor, someone who has an issue or a challenge with what you're saying. And I use the word aggressor very, very carefully because it is aggressive when the self has to leave the building. When we have to negate who we are and put ourselves to the side, play small if you want to call it, to appease someone else who feels challenged by what we're saying. Not that we're challenging them, we're expressing our need and our right to be, and this challenges them. We're in 2026. I'm pretty sure you all can think of 11 different situations where this is happening out in our faces every day. Because these people are playing in our faces every day. I'll just leave that there. The second one is, and I'm sure we've used it, right? We've said something, but it's just a joke. It's just a joke. Come on, it was just a joke, like, belada. You know what I mean? For those of you that are like, what is belada? Again, I live in Montreal, I live in Quebec, floating out some franglais. Now, it was just a joke is reality denial, right? It's telling you that your perception of pain is a glitch. It's a glitch in the matrix. This didn't happen. If you speak again, or you happen to have something to say about it, you're humorless. But you are the butt of the joke. And so you go quiet. And you start erasing yourself piece by piece. Now, it's just a joke is so latent and so subtle. It's sabotage at one of its greatest travails, because it's something that we say to each other every day. And probably when we are trying to make sense of what happened or what happened to us, we say, well, it could have just been a joke, though. Maybe I'm taking it too seriously. Now we have fine. 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 Or fine, have it your way. Whatever, have it your way. Just fine, whatever. Whatever. Now this is what we call in the lab the false surrender. And these things have all been mapped, folks. Like, I'm not taking this out of the air. I'm not asking AI. These are just things that have all been mapped in conversations that we've been having. And maybe in one of our episodes, we'll get to the 21 questions that we ask folks in 21 minutes on the shape and the geometry of their conflict and how we get to what these things are that I'm telling you here right now, because these are out of the mouths of people that we've interviewed and that we've talked to. So fine, have it your way. False surrender. This isn't an agreement. It's basically the door slamming shut. Like, fine, have it your way. I don't want to talk to you about this anymore. Have it your way, whatever. Like, it's you. It signals inside of us, but we don't learn this in kindergarten. So we're learning it now together in the empathy lab. That the relationship is less important than ending the conversation. I'm going to falsely surrender, whatever. Have it your way, you're right. You know, I'm closing the door because I'm saying that what we have here is less important. So let's just end the conversation. Because, let's not make a big deal out of this. You're taking it too seriously. You're blowing this out of proportion. Now, that's minimalization. It shrinks your reality to fit their comfort zone. It shrinks what you're experiencing to their container of what the experience should be. So if it doesn't fit that container, if it doesn't look like that, then your experience can't possibly be like that. So why are you making a big deal? Because I don't see it like that. So you shouldn't see it like that. You shouldn't make a big deal out of it because I don't see it like that. Minimalization. I'm shrinking your reality to fit my comfort zone, to fit where I want to take the situation, to fit where I want the control drama to go. For those of you who are old school heads that have read the Celestine Prophecy, the control drama is basically what's going on here. These are all control dramas, ways to control us vis-a-vis conflict and vis-a-vis linguistic blockers. You're remembering it wrong. I didn't see it like that. That wasn't my experience. She's not like that. You don't know her the way I do. This is the ultimate gaslight in the lab. One of the, there are quite a few. Don't get me wrong, guys. Quite a few gaslights to which I was like, yo, but this one was one that really stood out a lot. And it's telling you that you can't trust your memory. You can't form an argument. So your silence becomes the only stable ground. So you're basically told that you can't trust your own perception. You can't trust what you're seeing, what you're experiencing. And so the only way to come back from that is to go silent, to clench and retreat in. Because to look at what's happening, especially with someone that we adore, is very, very challenging. And that's why we step into these areas very, very lightly, like a tiger in the forest. Always knows where they're stepping. And so these are the 5 blockers that cause silence. And these 5 branch off. I gave some examples of how else they can appear to us. But these are the 5 that have come out of the lab. And so we in the lab see the silence everywhere. It's actually fractal. We talked about fractals. Not fractals or fractaling, but if you don't know what we're talking about today, I implore you to go back to last week or even the week before, catch up, and then join us back here. The silence, it's a fractal. So at the office or at the workplace, be it in the office, be it outside, be it wherever, it's what we call the pocket veto. So you're in a meeting, in a conversation, you pitch an idea, manager says something like, let's put a pin in that. Let's hold that for next time. Great idea, but let's just wait a minute here and see where we can really put this in. But we're going to come back to it though. We're going to close it for right now. We're going to pin it. That seems to be the new thing, and come back to it. And when that sentence comes out, you've come in with so much passion because you know what you know that you know, and you're told to put a pin in something. The room then goes cold, or the Teams meeting or Zoom boxes go cold. You just nod and you never bring it up again. And that is the sound. Let me say that again. That is the sound of innovation dying. That silence of you erasing yourself and that idea and that change or just that moment vanishes. And then it dies. With our friends, okay, it's the digital ghost. And we all do this. I don't care. We all have done this in some way, shape, or form. And after I say it, I'm pretty sure that we're going to be very, very keenly aware of where and when and how we are doing this. Digital ghosting looks like this. You send a text, vulnerable text, intense text, voice note, whatever it is. And you know, because we have these smartphones, we have our iPhones and our Androids and every other thing, that they've read it. I know with an iPhone, because I'm an iPhone user, don't kill the messenger, that's what I have. They leave you on red for like 3 days and then get back to you with like, hey, I didn't know what to say. That silence is a breach of contract. It teaches you right there that, hey, my vulnerability is a burden. My vulnerability is a burden. So I'm just going to clench it up into myself and repurpose and repackage it. So the next time they ask me, hey, what you were talking about, are you? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm really good. It's fine. It's totally fine. Between partners, it's the deepest cold. Because partnership is a bit different. It's a lot different, actually. And this is where the energy tax is the highest, is in partnerships. I'm talking about weaponized sleep. You go to bed angry, inches apart, but the distance between both of you is an ocean that not even the gap of TV can fill. If you have TVs in your bedrooms. I don't know if people are doing that in 2026, but I just put it out there. Or you're preparing a meal, things are going on. I call it the kitchen wall, right? Because the kitchen wall is you pass the salt, but you don't pass the truth. It's a wall. You put up a wall. You don't want to erode your boundary to get to it, so your wall is all the way up. It isn't peace. It doesn't make anything easier. It becomes a cold war. And you are punishing each other. This is why I say the tax is the highest, okay? Because you're punishing each other with the absence of your energy. Absence of energy. Nefarious, isn't it? When you think about it. The hardest part of the audit is who is watching the silence? Who is watching the tangle? Who's watching the circle? Who's watching the straight line? And if they're in and around us, whether they belong to us or not, little ones. And I'll get to the point of this. Children, guys, are excellent anthropologists. Like, hands down, excellent anthropologists. They don't just listen to what they say, they map out in their minds, okay, a whole universe of what we don't say. A whole universe of what we don't say. When they see you shut down because your partner used a blocker, they see you swallow your truth to keep the peace. When they see you tangle out, they see you suck everything in to control the energy. We'll talk about the circle and the tangle. Circle and the straight line, because I just gave away the tangle a little bit. We'll talk about that in the following episode, because I will teach you, I'm not actually teaching anything. I'm just bringing things to light. How, when we're in conflict, we're actually a representation of our 8-year-old selves, because that is when we solidify the geometry of what our parents didn't say in these conflicts. That's where they solidify learning the script. They learn that conflict equals danger. And in today's episode, we're talking about the architecture of silence. When we come into the silent treatment, they learn that silence equals safety. So if I'm going to be safe anywhere, I need to keep my fucking mouth shut. Yes, I dropped an F-bomb. I did. Our tiny people are inheriting this kinetic energy tax before they even have a bank account. We're teaching them through these ways that we have, that we're talking about together, that love requires an erasure of the self. You cannot be yourself and be loved at the same time. Boom, I said it. This week, folks, your assignment is uncomfortable. I want you to audit the silence. Where have you gone silent to stay safe? Where are you mistaking someone else's silence for agreement when it's actually a resignation letter to you they haven't written yet? To break silence, you have to warm the room. You have to erode a boundary, not because you want something, just because you can. You have to lower the recognition weapons and invite noise back in. We'll talk more about this in the next episode. As always, folks, I'm Selena Isles. Stay anchored, stay warm, stay connected. Take good care of yourself so you can tend to others around you. Please stay safe wherever and however you happen to be. We'll speak again soon.